Live coverage of the ministerial screening or appearance, whatever it is that you think it is that they are doing on the floor of the Senate. Well, that's all we're covering because really there's been conversations around what exactly the Senate is doing with the ministerial list that the president gave to them. Okay, so we're here to bring you up to speed as regards the event. It has started already, and by the way, I am Sheriff Quadri. Wemimo will be joining us any time now, that's right. But in the meantime, let's have you know that the screening of the ministerial list sent in to the National Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari commenced on Wednesday and is still currently ongoing as we speak. It started. It's day 3, as a matter of fact, so it's ongoing right now. We have 43 names that have been sent into the Senate. The Senate President Ahmed Lawan did say yesterday that the Senate will be screening 8 of those nominees today. How well and how far they will go, only time will tell. But in the meantime, let's join and the live screening as we speak. A nominee is on the floor already, giving his remark. Have a listen.
By way of recovery of public funds, Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, distinguished members, I am happy to report as well that during the modest period I served as the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice, we increased the balance in the federal government of Nigeria recovery accounts from 19 billion as it was as at the time we came into office, which was as of 29 May 2015, from 19 billion to 279 billion 389 million as at 22nd November 2018. Mr. President, that translates to 1,329% increase in recoveries. Mr. President, the Federal Ministry of Justice exclusively recovered $779,495,900 out of this amount. And indeed, in Naira, we recovered 59,163 million within the period under review. Let me state, Mr. President, that the successes that I feel we have recorded over time when I served as the Attorney General of the Federation were mainly and substantially on account of what I understood to be the basis and foundation for progress as far as this nation is concerned, which indeed was collaboration. Arising from the collaboration of the executive and indeed the legislature, we have succeeded in bringing about legislation that had direct bearing in whatever policy is put in place by the federal government. So in essence, I come to understand, Your Excellency, arising from that development, that no meaningful contribution, no meaningful success can be achieved without integration, without collaboration, and without working together. Your Excellency, if given an opportunity further to serve this nation in whatever capacity, I want to place it on record that it is my desire and intention to operate within the context of integration, within the context and spirit of Section 15 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which establishes the desire and need for integration. Within the context of Section 15, which establishes the need for collective action as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. But one thing I come to realize Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, distinguished members, is the fact that the Office of the Attorney General has exclusive responsibility of upholding the public as against individual interest. Upholding the public interest, and in so doing, embedding it, flavoring it with the interest of justice, and indeed ensure at the end of the day that no abuse is allowed to set in. It is not an office that is exclusively targeted at serving an individual interest, but collective interest. So in so doing, Mr. President, what is expected of the Office of the Attorney General arising from my appreciation is indeed upholding the public interest, particularly when it comes in conflict with an individual interest. The public interest, the interest of 180 million of Nigerians as against the interest of a single individual. And whatever decision, whatever opinion I have developed over time, arising from the role I played as the Attorney General of the Federation, Your Excellency, was indeed rooted in that singular appreciation. I am happy to report, Mr. President, that I have developed over 1,002 legal opinions at a time when I served as the Attorney General of the Federation. And my major consideration as a driving force relating to those opinions is the public interest and the interest of 180 Nigerians. And I was in no way, Your Excellency, the President, carried away by sentiment relating to self-serving or individual interest, but the public interest. I rest my case as far as a limited antecedent associated with my person are concerned, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair. Distinguished colleagues and Mr. Nominee, I am Michael Opeyemi Bamidele. I represent Ekiti Central Senatorial District. It's been interesting listening to you, sir. I felt proud as a lawyer. I felt proud as someone who was called to the bar in the same year with you and who has followed your activities, knowing you have done well for yourself and you did well for the nation as an Attorney General. However, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Nominee, there's still so much to be done. And in the event of your being confirmed by this distinguished Senate and Mr. President appointing you, and by chance returning you to that same ministry to continue your role again as the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, how, one, do you intend to ensure that the National Assembly for the next 4 years again will not spend so much of its precious time, will not be paid with the taxpayers' money, will not spend all its resources and energy working on bills, more than 50% of which might end up either being vetoed or for whatever reason being returned because the executive arm of government considers such bills as not being workable in overriding public interest. So how do you intend to work closely with the National Assembly to prevent this? More so in the spirit of what you have said concerning section 15 of our Constitution. It is important that there is more interaction between the two arms of government right from the period of commencement of these bills, so that whatever needs to either be included or be removed in overriding public interest, again I say, will be addressed. Your office is very critical to this. How also do you intend to be able to interface with the judicial arm of government to ensure there is better understanding of the workings of the executive arm of government? As a privileged member of cabinet in Lagos State, as a commissioner, I was part of a team of that government that would always work with the Office of the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in ensuring that there were retreats, there were seminars, there were collaborative programs with our judges for them to even understand the basic understanding and certain policies of government that will inform either the laws that will be made by the State House of Assembly or will help the judges to understand why certain things have to be done. I think it's important that we continue to remind ourselves that our legal system is a creation of our political system. And these laws that people go to court to interpret are made by politicians. We're happy, we are lucky as a nation to have someone like you being a technocrat and at the same time a lawyer. I mean, a technocrat and a politician. So it means that you are in the best position to be able to ensure the delicate balancing that we need to do. And finally, Mr. Nominee, how would you like to be remembered as an Attorney General? The Lord have come and gone. You are serving at a very critical stage of our nation. How would you like to be remembered? Thank you so much again, Mr. President, sitting as chair.
The DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank Mr. President, our President, for this very important nomination. I want to thank Mr. President for this very important nomination, or indeed renomination. For some of us, this didn't come as a surprise. We expected it. We expected it because of the invaluable contributions you've made to that office since you assumed the office of Attorney General. You are a good man. You are a brilliant attorney. More important than that, you are a fearless anti-corruption warrior. And this is one of the major planks of the President's programs and promises that he made to this country in the course of the campaign. And I'm glad he has you as the Chief Law Officer to champion this anti-corruption campaign. Now, there are a lot of issues that are dear to me. You've addressed most of them in the course of your presentation. We had the Chief Justice of Nigeria here a couple of days ago for confirmation. One of the issues I raised with him, even though the question wasn't really answered, but I think you've given me some insight. I always wondered why we're having difficulties designating some courts to focus on these anti-corruption cases, to speed up their trials. Because like you rightly articulated, sometimes we've had anti-corruption cases ranging from 8, 9, 10 years unresolved. But thank God for this Executive Order number 6, which you just mentioned. I hope that will bring a long way in addressing that issue. Now, I really don't have much to say beyond what others have said about you. Your CV speaks for itself. I just have 2 concerns which I want you to address for me. Even though I'm the Deputy Senate President, I come from a region, that's the Niger Delta region. And in that region, the PIB, is very, very critical, very, very critical to us. And as the Senate President indicated a couple of days ago in the course of these confirmation proceedings, the observation he made, which we all share, is that even though there's a desire from both ends, both here in the National Assembly and in the executive arm, to have a PIB passed, we've always had a communication problem, a disconnect. There's not been that adequate collaboration. It isn't so much that the content here, the content of the bill we passed is disagreeable to the other side. I think all that is needed is for the two sides, to come together and come up with a bill. I want to know if you would take this as a priority, because it means so much to us in the Niger Delta and indeed the entire country, most especially the host community component, of the PIB bill. And then finally, a couple of days too, my dear brother and colleague from River State, Senator Sekibo, brought a very, very crucial motion here, dealing with the extension of our continental shelf pursuant to Article 77 of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. And in the process of that presentation, we were told about the contributions that Mr. President has made, and indeed through your office, to see that monies owed to the team that had been raised, that the bills were adequately settled so that they can proceed to have this matter resolved. I want to know too if you will also undertake before us to expedite the process so that they can complete this and so we can end up enjoying the benefit of this convention. Once again, I want to thank you, I want to congratulate you, and I'm proud to have you serve again as Attorney General if Mr. President so pleases. Thank you very much.
Honorable Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as the chair. Mr. Nominee, my name is Einaya Baribe. I represent Abia South. I was very, very interested in listening to you espousing on individual rights versus the corporate rights of Nigerians. Section 36, 37, 38, 39, all the way to, I think, 44, puts all the rights of Nigerians, including you, there. And as Attorney General, I'm sure you are the person who guarantees the rights of Nigerians. And so I want to ask you, why? Or would you be able to explain to Nigerians why you, as Attorney General, has not been able to guarantee the rights of those Nigerians who have been granted bail and are still in custody?
Senator Yakubu Osen.
Order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished colleagues, Mr. Nominee, congratulations. Sometimes 2016, 2017, we all know that there was economic depression, popularly called economic recession then in this nation. And you happen to be one of those that helped in managing the economy out of recession. We equally know that in economic cycle, the recovery stage is always slow. My question is this: as with your wealth of experience and as a ranking minister that you be, is there anything different that you are going to do to make sure that the speed, the rate of economic recovery can be faster than what we are having now? Thank you, Mr. President.
You can respond to the questions, right?
Yes, distinguished senators. Well, a question was asked by my learned friend, Senator Michael Opemi, seeking to know what I think I can do different in terms of ensuring that bills that are passed on to the President for assent are not unnecessarily rejected along the line. In the course of my submissions, I have highlighted on an experience and appreciation of the fact that whatever problems we have associated with running of the government is indeed embedded in the absence of collaboration and cooperation. So the major thing I think I can do differently by way of ensuring at the end of the day that bills coming from the National Assembly are assented to by the President is to establish a culture of collaboration. A culture of deep-rooted collaboration, for that matter, and not a collaboration as we see it today. What we have today, perhaps, is simply a public hearing arrangement as a means of perhaps entertaining opinions, contributions, and observations associated with bills. I think we have in place a friendly National Assembly that will allow for integrated consummation of ideas. Perhaps maybe a bill that is rooted in the national interest should be a bill that right from conception should be shared between the executive, the judiciary, and indeed the legislature, so as to entertain opinions, entertain objections, entertain whatever superior argument could be accommodated for the purpose of fine-tuning it to ensure at the end of the day that it sees the light of the day for assent. Let me cite an example, for example, with a PIB bill that has been raised by the distinguished Deputy Senate President. That bill was fundamentally rejected, among others, by the President because of the fact that the interest of the host community was at a point compromised. Compromised in which way? Compromised in the sense that self-serving sections were brought into it, conferring powers on an individual as against the institution. And the public interest element of the role of the President requires that the public interest should be factored more as against public or individual interest. So that was fundamentally the reason why, among others, it was rejected. It was not assented to, sorry, by the president at a time when it was indeed transmitted for assent. So what I'm saying in essence, if at the point of conception, at the point of formulation, and at the point of passage before then, there was a collaboration in terms of understanding with the judiciary, in terms of understanding with the executive and associated relevant institutions, institutions that have direct bearing with the spirit of the bill, I do not see that bill eventually being returned unassented to. So what I'm saying in essence is the key to the successes of the bills that are being transmitted by the National Assembly is a deep collaboration between the institutions of government, and that is what I intend, if at the end of the day it pleases Mr. President to allow me to continue in Federal Ministry of Justice, to ensure it's done. We address the issues of collaboration at the institutional level, and then at the point of public hearing, we collectively entertain the opinion of the public to see what further amendments, what further enhancements in the quality of the bill are put in place for the purpose of ensuring at the end of the day that we succeed in having them assented to. As it relates to judiciary, on the other hand, I think we are as well making progress for the purpose of interfacing or ensuring the effective delivery of judicial services by the judicial arm of the government. And that can visibly be seen by the fact that for the first time, the budget of the judiciary was being enhanced by the executive. As at 2017, it was enhanced by 2 billion. And then we have now taken it up further by way of ensuring the autonomy of the state judiciary. It was never the practice before now, before the amendment to the Constitution, it was never the case for the state judiciary to enjoy some level of autonomy. And as it obtains today, not only that Mr. President assented to the constitutional provision that invaded the independence of the judiciary in terms of finances and funding, but indeed goes further to have in place a committee that would see to the execution and implementation of such autonomy, among others. So I think it's no longer a situation of he who pays the piper dictates the tune, but then we have taken and put in place policies that will, at the end of the day, see, one, to the independence of the judiciary, and then two, create a very good working environment in terms of collaboration. In terms
Mr. President, 5 more minutes, please.
Please proceed.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite a bit rowdy right now in the Senate. Malami was still speaking and someone said 5 more minutes. That's make it quick, drop your comments quickly, answer the questions, and let's go on. Tunji, quickly, he talks about creating collaboration. He says the issue about dealing with corruption is a matter of collaboration between the agencies. I feel he just deflected the answer from himself. He says if he's going to come back as an attorney general, I mean, has he told us anything really?
Okay. So I'm totally not clear about what he was saying, because it does feel like he himself doesn't understand his job description or what the job description of a minister is, except of course he thinks he's going to be the coordinating minister of the economy, because he's saying collaboration. Who do you want to collaborate with? He was talking about getting stakeholders and the general public to be able to
the opinion of the public.
He honestly doesn't understand how expensive that is, or the processes to doing that, or if he even has the what's the word? Because you can't do that on your own. You have to do it in collaboration with other ministries and all the president as a whole. So generally, I think the idea, and if you look at the proceedings today, there is rapt attention from everybody. You can
The
see,
house is even fuller.
You can see Omwagege nodding his
Nodding
head,
intermittently,
like
paying attention.
even when there's actually nothing being said, he's nodding like, oh yeah.
They all look very serious
Yeah, but
today.
it does say that one. It does say a few things.
Yes.
It says that, and City of Lagos. You know that we did say yesterday that we're questioning if there was any purpose to what we're doing here.
That's right.
In following through,
That's
and
right.
I don't know what it is. We know that CSOs have spoken,
Raised,
but
eyebrows.
between them, the general public, the media, we know that there's been some sort of feeling
If you're watching
in the
this,
house.
you can see there are more lawmakers
Exactly,
in the house.
is actually full now.
They're not,
And they're paying
chatting,
more attention.
yeah, and hitting themselves like
they're
they were
not distracted.
doing.
Well, a lot of things might be responsible for that. Number one, he's the first nominee for the day.
For today.
Number two, they're still fresh.
No.
The lawmakers are
It's
still
always
fresh.
been
Fresh,
Number
fresh.
three,
How do you mean fresh?
Sheriff.
I mean, they're just
Sheriff.
starting
Sheriff.
for the
But
day.
we saw
then
them
number three,
yesterday.
it could have also been in response to the outcry
It's
that have
I
greeted their disposition towards
there's a Yoruba adage
the screening.
that the child we heard the cry of the witch
Witch
last
yesterday.
night and
Wizard.
okay, wizard.
It's which.
Well,
it's which. You
there
cannot
are-
change
we
it.
choose
They are,
to
they are
say
male,
wizard.
they are male. They are male witches. So we heard the cry of the witch last night, and the child dies this morning. You can see that not only is the room fuller, they are all keeping decorum. They're
They're giving us an appearance of paying
Listen,
attention.
I don't
It's an
want
appearance.
I don't want us to get carried away.
I'm
with
not
what we're
carried
saying
away.
there
What I'm
now,
saying is-
because this is what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
With time, they will start leaving that.
No.
place.
What I'm saying is
Just
this.
give them
No,
some time.
Okay,
They will start
they'll-
going
they'll
one
forget
by
themselves
one,
and
by
go
one,
back.
by one by. You will see.
Okay, so
You see.
first of
But
all,
one thing I asked you earlier, Tunji,
Yeah.
was imagine if we had pushed this advocacy a bit more.
Boom.
So I
That was
said
where
on
I
the
was
front
going to.
pages today, imagine that, I mean, in other countries, by this morning, in fact, by yesterday morning, you'd find people in front of the National Assembly with placards asking them to do their jobs.
which of course was where I was going to, because my thoughts was if just by media, by the CSO's statements, we can get this
Achieve
kind
this.
of response.
Oh, look at them.
Imagine if we had gone there to actually demand for more in terms of screening these people. I think would have gotten a more, and it calls back to the issue of active participation in
That's
governance.
right.
Because
That's right. Which is quite important.
yeah, active participation, because we are part of this process, and that's why we're
Yes.
interested and
in
we've-
seeing what they're
you know,
doing.
we followed the proceedings over the last couple of days. It's important that, because these people are going to be in charge of our collective lives for the next
4 years. Someone is asking on YouTube. We're live on YouTube, by the way, and on Facebook. Ken Maobi says, these guys are clueless. They don't know Jack. What was Malami's record in his first outing? Which I thought would be the questions to be asked. But let's tell you that Abubakar Malami is from Kebbi State. As a legal practitioner, he served in various capacities, including being a counsel and magistrate in Kebbi State, and also a national legal advisor of the defunct Congress for Progressive Change. He was actively involved in the formation of the All Progressives Congress in 2013 as a resource person to the Manifesto Drafting Subcommittee. Then in 2014, he contested for the governorship ticket under the APC in Kebbi State. He lost the primaries to Atiku Bugudu. He was appointed Minister for Justice and Attorney General of the Federation November 11, 2015. And then he was the youngest minister on President Muhammadu Buhari's cabinet. The immediate past Attorney General of the Federation is now appearing, and I expected that he would have more to say, saying that unless anything changes, he might return as the Minister for Justice.
I don't think any one of them would be. I don't bet, but I'm willing to bet at this point that none of them is going to be rejected for any reason.
No, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, so that's
I
what I'm
don't see
saying.
that happen.
So-
I mean, they started by saying you're a good man, we know you, you're a fine attorney, you're good at what you do. And I'm wondering, what is the question?
So one of the things I did yesterday was, maybe because I was watching this, I I had to start questioning what a screening is in my head again.
Right.
And so I went to YouTube and I just searched.
You went to look
screening.
for the meaning of screening.
No. I wanted to see a screening from some other part of the world.
That's
and
right.
you know what? Actually, somewhere in my head, this show, whatever it is, Bow and Go
Presentation.
show,
It's a presentation.
slightly had eroded what I thought a screening was, because we've seen many screenings.
Yeah.
And then I went back and I saw the grillings that were happening in America, with people coming to, for the Attorney General, different posts in America. And I'm like, oh,
this is what it should look like.
and City of Lagos, if you've not seen it, please go to YouTube, check it out. It's always one person sitting in with a microphone in front of him, and there's circles of people around him,
Well prepared with their scripts,
That's right.
In fact,
thorough scripts.
It almost feels like an interrogation. In fact, it
It
is
an interrogation.
First, let's look at areas that Abubakar Malami should have been, probed as regards this screening. He was in office. He was the immediate past Attorney General and Minister of Justice in this country. And we saw what the presidency did with El Zegzaki. That to me is one of the issues that should have been asked him. That to me is one of the questions that should have been put forward to him.
I think it was asked, and that was I can't remember the lawmaker that asked that particular question, but the question was asked recently, and it was saying under your watch, there were people were detained.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, he
Unjustice.
didn't mention El Zagzaki, but he did say people were detained indefinitely. But then he went into segueing away from the question and going into
parrying into something
we would
else.
collaborate, and it would be a leadership of
He would
collaboration.
establish collaboration. I'm wondering what that means. But he's still answering questions. Another question is coming up for Abubakar Malami. He's been standing here now for about 20 minutes, thereabout. Let's head back to the Senate and hear the next question for him. Okay, we'll get back to that very, very shortly. Let's just keep on here. While we'll try to also reach our correspondent Fidel El-Sagale, who is standing at the National Assembly. He's right there at the Senate also, and he'll join us shortly to tell us what's going on here. Well, again, we'll see that... I wasn't here in the afternoon. I didn't hear that part, but from our news when we got feeders that one of the female nominees, actually said while she was being screened that she thanked the presidency for the gender parity in the selection of ministers.
What a wow!
Yeah, it was a big wow. And this was a female nominee. There are 7 female nominees out of 43. And someone is thankful that we got 7. So, when we started on Wednesday, you did just a random search on Google to say...
Yeah. So, City of Lagos, this, when we're talking on Monday, one of the things we're talking about was it was clear to us that this wasn't a show of competence. It wasn't a declaration of competence, because... and again, the question was, is it possible to find people across the world who have pedigree, who are Nigerians,
who can do the job?
And I just said, random search, Nigerians who work in the United Nations, and a lady came up, and someone I've never heard of, but apparently she has massive pedigree across the world. She's a Nigerian. She's worked across, and she's even the head of a particular unit in the United Nations, and she's pushing their global agenda on that particular issue. And I was like, and I showed everybody in the news, in the room, and I was saying, see, I didn't even have to search much. I didn't have to call any agency. This was just me with a Google search, and you could find somebody already who had the qualifications, who we could, put to the job. So at the end of the day, you kind of feel that, are we really serious about searching for the best hands?
Are we serious?
Or are we just looking for...
No, I'm asking now. Are we serious?
Do we look serious?
Have we displayed seriousness in making sure that we get the best of Nigerians out there to come handle our affairs?
First of all, I'm not even sure the people screening them are the best of Nigerians
to screen them, to authenticate, to validate.
But they won their tickets to become senators.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. This is my personal opinion. I said I'm not sure they are the best Nigerians to even be in the House to begin with.
Because the sort of questions they're even asking, leaves you in doubt
Of course, entirely. You know, you want to question if our leaders collectively across board are the best of Nigerians, because you find brains everywhere in every sector. Engineering is medicine, innovation, agriculture. You find the best of Nigerians across the world, not even in Nigeria also, and across the world, even in areas like music. You know, recently, just a couple of weeks or days ago, we had one of our own in terms of music being on Beyonce's album.
Not one, three of them. Yemi Alade, Tiwa Savage, Wizkid.
And it just shows you
or more.
And that is just one. That's music alone. We have our own former minister who is now the deputy to the Secretary General to the UN. We have our people across the world who show you global repute.
That's right.
If we wanted competence, there is a long list that is inexhaustible.
That's available. The thing is, we have people who can do the job.
Could this have been as a result of our brand of politics?
Yes, it is.
You know, somebody like you, somebody like me. I wouldn't go into Nigerian politics because I know it can be very muddy.
No, you can't. You can only speak for yourself. You can't speak for someone.
I realize I can't survive.
He said it yesterday.
I can't.
He mentioned it on the show yesterday.
You know, a lot of times, right? You know, especially when we're talking policy issues on Twitter, and people who listen to Policy Thursday on my show, and they go, Tunji, you should run for office, and I'm like, I know I can't survive it.
With this structure that we have.
Because
the brand is too much.
I have seen myself in the room with politicians a lot of the time, and I'm always surprised that I just blurt out things, you know.
Like the blessing. Let's head back to the Senate. More grilling for him. Well, Sheriff said it. It seems they are, gradually loosening up. We're watching. They seem to gradually begin to forget the post.
Can you see these places at the back? Can you see those places?
Exactly. I'm beginning to get distracted. But let's get back to the Senate. Oh, yeah, the chatting has begun. Let's head back.
And it is in pursuance of that I think it may be appropriate to respectfully urge my colleagues to allow the nominee to take a bow and go, more so that he has lasted more than 1 hour answering questions. In view of that, I so move, and I thank my colleagues for all the cooperations that they have given our nominee in his screening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Let me make a point here. When we decided to invite senators other than those from the states to ask questions, before we invited senators from the states of the nominee to also make contribution. We are doing so to improve on what we did yesterday. And there is no doubt that the questions asked were very good questions that Nigerians want to hear answers. The nominee himself, at the risk of sounding like his attorney, has brilliantly answered the questions. And I believe that time has come for the Senate to view or to think of allowing the nominee to take a bow and go. Is it the opinion of this Senate that the nominee takes a bow and go? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Nice, you can take a bow.
There you go. Take a bow. Abubakar Malami is done with this screening, and the Senate President Ahmed Lawan has just asked that the senators allow other senators ask their questions before the senators from the state of the nominee begin their accolades. So, I mean, because once it starts, it's just, I know you. I know your father's house. You're good.
and I think I like that direction, really.
Yes.
That direction should be maintained. And one important thing is that Malami spent about 40 minutes answering questions, and I think
it's
What do you mean?
No, as in he was the one that met the backlash. So this morning they
Yeah.
decided to
So they
point-
meted it out.
Yeah, on him.
On him, started off with him. Let's see who the next person is coming up for the next screening. The next nominee will be coming up shortly. Now, his entourage, Malami's entourage, moving out with him. Those who have come to solidarize with him, friends, probably people from his state, allies.
Yeah, they're still doing the
The handshakes. There are about 10.
Will we see any high five? No high five yet.
No, they're low fives.
Just shakes. Just shakes.
About 10,
Thumbs up.
12
shake.
people who have come with him, who are now walking out of the Senate with him.
Like I said, it's a party after this. So
It's a party. I'm sure the
they,
venue
they're going for the after
reception.
Party, right?
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Well, about 10 people have come to felicitate with him, because it seems once you make it to that list,
apparently now you've now become very important,
Yeah.
and then you can do a lot of deals.
And you can compensate a lot of people.
a senator is standing. Let's hear. It seems he's raising an order.
3 hours with the Attorney General. It would have been too much. And the Attorney General has cleverly answered all relevant questions. And we must also know that he is the most understood Nigerian. So this was a platform for him. I will finish. Let me finish that. So
There seems to be a point of order raised about the timing.
Let's listen to ourselves in silence. You have raised a point. You have raised a point of order. I agree with you, and that was why when the Attorney General took, when the nominee took his stand at the podium, I did not invite senators from the state. I invited senators other than those from the states, and except the minority leader, all those who ask questions, including the DSP, have legal background. And the questions they ask, in my opinion, are very germane questions that the public is interested. And I think he discharged himself with excellence by responding to the questions without avoiding any of them. So I think there was no hidden motive or agenda. We are racing against time. If we had all the time in the world, and you can imagine this is Friday, and we are still sitting here. This is to show the commitment of everyone here that we mean business. So we take note of your order, and I will not, but we have taken note.
All right, so the point of order raised was for timing as to answering the questions. I'm not sure the person who raised the point of order is happy with that response. Some of them want more time to grill the nominees. Others moved it on.
For a reason I don't get, really. I can't comprehend the reason why the Attorney General should spend more than he already 40 minutes. That's a lot compared to taking bow nominees that have just come there and gone, just taking a bow and going. I understand the fact that, as an Attorney General and Minister of Justice, well, nobody is even sure whether he's still going to retain that portfolio. Nobody is certain. But they just want, for some reason or the other, the senator who raised the point of order wanted more time given to Abubakar Malami, claiming that even if it was given 2 hours, it wouldn't have been still been an enough time for him to, expatiate on some of the questions asked. And the Senate President saying that, look, even the time he was given, he didn't avoid any question whatsoever. He answered, he attempted all the questions.
So the time was enough. And like he said, today is Friday. Usually the Senate does not sit on Fridays.
Exactly.
So this seems to be a stretch of their usual, calendar. Why the huff? No, they don't.
They don't sit on Friday.
They sit 3 times a week.
They don't sit on Friday.
No.
Can you imagine?
You don't sit on Monday.
They sit 3 times a week, thrice a week.
But
So
they get paid more than all of us here.
so they're supposed to be working in their committees
That's right.
for the other, times of the week. They're supposed to be working, with the ministries they're
only part I would
supervising.
agree with this is that the 2 hours or the 1 hour was not necessary for the purpose of the fact that the questions couldn't have been directed at where he was going to.
There was
And
no
of course,
direction.
he was supposed to sit before the subcommittee on that particular
That's right.
sector. So the questions were random, if anything. They weren't specific to the job that he was going to take on. So, but you do realize why that happened. It's down to the backlash and them trying to, give Nigerians an
The
appearance
impression.
of working. So let's not also knock them for appearing to work. At least
I mean, I
This is the best-
support
this is
you
the honest
appearing
best-
to work.
This is the best we
Show
can.
me you're working.
This is the best we can accept from them, because if you want to say you show me you're working, then you are asking for competence, and then it might be that we're asking for too much in that area.
Wow.
We might just be asking
What
for
a
too much.
sting! What a sting right there. We have another nominee standing by. The Senate leader is introducing him. He's got a smile on his face. I just feel like, once you make it to the list and you appear in the House, it's almost
as
a
good as
done
a senator,
deal.
yeah.
I'm still looking forward to
Hashtag
see.
bow and go.
But yeah, if anyone would be rejected, if by the screening anyone would be found unworthy to become a senator, we're here watching to see if that will happen. Otherwise, everyone on that list, all 43 of them, will scale through and then be given their portfolios. Well,
That's joining.
yeah, Hadi Sirika is up right now. He's being screened next. He's from Katsina State, former general manager, Katsina State Transport Authority. Was a former member of the House of Rep and a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, representing Katsina North Senatorial District under the platform of Congress for Progressive Change. So he might just take a bow shortly and go, because he's also being a lawmaker. Let's head to the Senate now.
Ovie Umuagege, Excellency Deputy Senate President of this Federal Republic, the entire leadership of this hallowed chamber, and distinguished senators, in particular Senators Hamudu Baba Keita, my friend and cousin, representing Katsina North Senatorial District, Senator Bello Mandia, my long-standing friend, representing Katsina South, and of course, distinguished Senator Engineer Kabiru Abdullahi Barkia, our elder in the state representing Katsina Central. Your Excellency, Mr. President, please permit me to say thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making this a second time and for giving us the opportunity to once again be appointed by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari to serve our country in this capacity, provided that we are able to pass through this screening exercise. Your Excellency, I stand here with some nostalgia, having been in this chamber, earlier on having been in the other yet vibrant green chamber before here. I'm not too sure if there's anything in my CV for this particular exercise that I must highlight. To say that all of my character and content and conduct have been long deposited in this National Assembly. And I had the privilege and opportunity to debate, to interact, to communicate, to discuss, to be together and share banters with most of us here. However, Your Excellency, I would not conclude without thanking this particular chamber. Once I was in charge of aviation as Minister of State Aviation in the Ministry of Transportation, I had a course to take a decision to close the only runway that we have here in Abuja. That didn't go down well with many people, including professionals, technocrats, politicians. And as true speakers on behalf of the Nigerian people and the custodian of the law of the land and the makers of these laws of land that we follow, you had the wisdom to invite me 3 times and for a record 9 hours to discuss and iron out those concerns to close that single runway for all of the consequences that were then anticipated. However, through your guidance and through those exercises, we were able to together see the end of that project on time and on budget. It was quite challenging because we needed the understanding of the National Assembly at the time. It was doctrine of necessity. It wasn't budgeted earlier on. It has to pass through legislative budget at the time, and it was passed, and we were able to deliver that project. Second comment, which is the last comment, Your Excellency, is that through the experience I had in the last dispensation, I think there may be a need to reconsider the Public Procurement Act. The exercise is very cumbersome, tedious, time-taking, and honestly very difficult for the executive to operate. We spent about a year and a half in an attempt to make procurement. And the intent of the law is very good. It is to have value for money. It is to ensure transparency. It is to ensure accountability. It is my humble opinion that all of this will be achieved if the laws are reviewed, because having consideration of the fact that it's a 4-year tenure, and if you spend a year or a year and a half trying to procure, it will be extremely difficult for you to perform. Notwithstanding, however, in my capacity at the time, we embarked upon 157 projects, out of which 134 were 100% successfully completed, thanks to committees of the National Assembly for their oversight and support. Your Excellency, I'd like to stop here to thank you for the opportunity to say a word or two.
You're watching TVC News, and we have been bringing
He became a senator in 2011, and he was also the Minister for Aviation. And here we are with Hadi Sirika giving his opening speech. And that opening speech, just goes on and on. I can hardly hear what he's saying anyway.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is, does anybody remember that there was a discourse about last year about Nigeria Air?
Yeah.
He was the one that was championing the cause.
That's right.
We had the logo that did not fly.
That's right.
We had the airline that was launched that did not take off.
Mm-hmm.
We had the airline that was supposed to be championed by foreign investors, but we had we only had 5%, but we were the one that launched it, and we were the one that designed the logo.
And we made a lot of noise
about it. And the
it was also about
how
much the logo cost, as a matter of fact.
So,
and we paid for it.
That is basis alone. The money we paid to consultants, because we paid a few billions, and I'll look out for the details of the monies that were appropriated for Air Nigeria that were also approved by the Federal Executive Council.
Yes, right.
At the end of the day, give or take, front or back, Nigeria Air did not fly.
No, it did not.
And he is here, ready to fly again.
Oh, well, he could fly. As well, I like the pun. Well, let's run you through. I'm looking at what he did. He was a senator in 2011. He's gone round and round. He's currently the minister, was the Minister for Aviation. He is a former pilot. Yes, the former pilot, former general manager of the Katsina State Transport Authority, former member of the House of Reps, also a former senator representing Katsina North Senatorial District. He held the position of vice chairman of the Millennium Development Goals Committee of the Nigerian Senate. That means he was in charge of the MDGs. He became a senator. I mean, the MDGs are very crucial. Now we have the SDGs. So, I mean, we hardly met up with the MDGs.
We didn't.
We didn't meet up. Now we got the SDGs. How well did we do? Or what's the plan? Are we even going to keep
all
up
right,
with
so
it?
we failed with meeting up with the MDGs, and I was at least with the National Bureau of Statistics when the details for the SDGs were given and were shared to the various MDAs. Right now, we're having issues across board in terms of data gathering and basically us even realizing we should be pushing for it. So, but there are people that are trying to do some things here and there.
Okay.
We're working towards it in clusters, in small pockets here and there, but it's still a long way. But before we go, I just wanted to point
before we
out-
go on to let's take a very short break. Let's bring you some stories we're following on the news for the hour. After that, we go back to the Senate to continue with the screening, which is currently ongoing. Our correspondent Fidel Osagale is standing by there. Would also hope to be able to speak with him shortly. When we come back, the screening live coverage continues, so stay with us. We just bring you the stories we're following on the hour. Toji Andrews is here. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
And I'm Sheriff Quadri.
persons that will be screened. But so far, we've been looking at how impressive the screening has been so far for the 43 of these nominees. And the questions raised again about female participation, and presence, the presence of women on the proposed cabinet of the federal government has again raised eyebrow. Some women expressed their displeasure at the low representation of women in this proposed ministerial list. Listen to this.
As we see in other jurisdictions, that when women have the political authority and legitimacy to proffer solutions to the society's problems, it is faster. And that's because they really represent many levels of engagement within society. And so decisions as to the kind of quality of life that children would get, decisions on the human capital development, on the health issues, decisions that matter to women in agriculture sector, things that have to do with entrepreneurship. Women totally understand this, and even more so, women are realizing that women being in the sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics, these are so important. And because studies have shown that women, when they govern, when women are in political authority, the least important thing for them is to gather wealth for themselves.
I don't go there because I'm depressed. They said that women will count during the politics. Obviously, women didn't count. We don't believe them. So we need to start looking at other platforms where more women will be recognized. Competent women, reliable women, hardworking women, women who merit it. There are loads and loads of them, but we just get deliberately shut up.
We have only 7 out of 43 positions. That is less than 16%, which is even less than the target, whether you take 33% or 35%. So for sure, we don't have enough women. There is a very large pool of eminently qualified women in this country.
We looked at the list, and from the statistics, I think the female representation is only about 16%, which is a little bit disappointing because we were hoping that after the first tenure, there will be more representation in the second tenure. And with the way it is now, we hope that the administration will make up for it, either by appointing women to be in other parastatals and agencies of government and things like that, because the list is already out. But the message really is that they're women who are capable, who can do the work. And if you have at least 48% of your citizens that are women, it's only fair that they're given a better representation in government.
All right, you heard Obi Ezekwesili amongst others there telling us, how much female representation would mean. And again, the question is, don't we have women who can do the job? If we do, why don't we have them represented on that cabinet? 7 out of 43 is a very, very poor representation.
It is, no doubt about it. And if you look at the balance of the male and female representation in that cabinet, it's a drop from what we had in the past. And one would have expected that, with the trend in cabinet being formed all across the world, how gender parity is dominating discourse from around the world. But then if you look at somebody, the president who put together his list, because I actually don't want to believe that he didn't put together the list. You know what they say about,
how could he not put together the list?
But they always say that, people contribute names, people drop names,
but then
for governors, for presidents.
You remember the president also said that he's under pressure to form a cabinet, but he refuses to bow to pressure because he would select only people that he knows. That
might just be a political statement.
We're talking about women. One of the ministerial nominees, Ramatu Tijani, says that President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is gender neutral, with women occupying key positions in the country. She said this while being screened by the Senate yesterday. She said President Buhari kept his promise of running an all-inclusive government, as demonstrated by the number of women on the ministerial list. She said that Nigerians should expect due diligence to service, honesty and accountability from her as a minister for the nation to move forward. Listen to this.
They should expect due diligence to service, honesty, accountability, and most of all, that which Nigeria requires to move it forward. We are here to serve. Absolutely, you have seen 7 women. Besides that, I know in the agencies, parastatals, and also birds, we come also women. We have moved from about 6 to 16% now. To tell you, besides that, he kept his words that he will include women. He will not only include women, as you have seen in the past, in the last 4 years. He even gave us sensitive areas like the Nigerian Port Authority that the MPA, where no woman kept before. So you know that he believes in us and he will keep his words to include women. More women.
Well, she kind of thinks that 7 women out of 43 is enough to applaud the president for.
Well, she said that in President's first term, that the percentage of women in governance has improved to 16%. And to her, she felt that it was in fulfillment of President Buhari's commitment towards making sure that women are fairly represented in his government. 16%, to her out of about 35.
Wow. So do you think that she's right? I mean, the president, according to her, and I'm more disappointed because she's, a woman, one of the 7 who have made it to this list, and she thinks we should applaud the president.
I don't want to be, I don't want to jump the gun. It could be a math issue, it could be a math issue, or it could be a simple vision issue at not being able to tell who's a woman and who's a man. There could be many issues, really, because it's clear.
My goodness! First, it says it could be a math issue.
It could be a math issue.
Then
really.
a problem identifying the difference between a math.
You cannot. We can't really tell, because I mean it's clear before us, and this is what happens with politicians, especially with Nigeria, is in that doubling down and trying to force people to believe what you want them to believe.
What is a lie?
Exactly, irrespective of what is obvious to people. And, at the end of the day, she's speaking towards her own, for
interest.
her, interest. I've gotten in, and yes. I
have to make the government feel good.
Exactly. And that is, so that's, at the end of the day, this is the first line of interaction. And you're thinking to yourself,
wow.
I mean, she just, because I don't want to say, because you can't even say this is a lie.
This is the best we can come up with.
You can't call this a lie. Do you know why?
It worries me.
Because
really.
It's clear to us. We see the list. There's no, there's no list
43 minus 7.
Yeah. We see the list.
Listen, it worries me because the reason why I ask if this is the best we can come up with is, I mean, here is somebody who is supposed to be like the standard bearer for the women folk and defend the women folk, and instead, she's trying to paint what is not there and make it look as though it's there, as though people are foolish. And someone made that comment yesterday on the show, that the Nigerian politicians address Nigerians as though they're talking to foolish people.
Now that's harsh.
Well, no, but it is true.
But look at it. No, I mean, isn't this.
That's why I said
example?
I'm not entirely sure if it's a math issue or a vision
is
problem.
Is this not a clear
because
example?
She doesn't know her math.
It's just like when I come to you and I say, Wemimo, you are Caucasian.
Oh, don't you like my hair?
Yes, you are Caucasian because you're Caucasian.
Yeah.
Wemimo, you are Caucasian. Have you not noticed how you pronounce words?
Yes,
you are and you're looking at you're like, I'm not.
What's wrong with this one?
You get, that's so it's the issue here. It's clear, But before we went to the newsroom, I wanted to point out something. We're talking about Heidi Sirika, who was being screened at the time.
Yes, former Minister of Aviation.
I wanted to point out that we had approved for him 47 billion, not for him, basically. We have approved for the Nigeria Air, or is it the Air Nigeria?
The proposed Nigeria Air.
47 billion was approved for them in May of 2019, before the whole thing went belly up. I'm expecting that people the lawmakers needed to ask what happened to that 48 billion.
That's right.
What was the money appropriated?
That's right.
Well, if it is approved by the this is the Federal Executive Council. This is not even budget. This is a higher level, so it must have been.
But some people are saying they plan to have Nigeria Air still somewhere in the pipeline.
And we need to know where the 47 billion is now.
That's right.
Nobody asked that question in the floor of the house.
So if we don't know where the money, if the money is still with them in an account, can he tell us where it is?
Yeah.
Can we track it? The money that was paid to the logo designer, can we find where it is? Those kind of things. Can we ask for questions?
I also need the lawmakers to ask questions. I don't know if it's still being, grilled. I have no idea. But if it's still there, I also need them to ask why, it's so difficult for airliners to operate in Nigeria.
Oh, that's so.
It's almost an impossible business model if they're coming to Nigeria.
It's because of the taxes.
Exactly.
We tax them heavily. We tax them. So if you look at your airline tickets, check your airline.
Just try and check it.
Check your airline ticket.
Just try and check it.
You realize that what actually it belongs to the airline itself is a small fraction of what you're paying.
If you check the breakdown of the amounts they're paying,
and that and this and that and that, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Amazing.
Because we have probably one of the most substandard airport facilities of countries of our status, across the world, and we probably are one of the ones that tax them the most.
Let's listen to what the people have to say. We'll open the phone lines and get feedback from you. So far, it's day 3, ministerial screening. I would say I was about to say ministerial presentation.
It is a ministerial presentation.
It's the second presentation. But what's your opinion so far? Some people have argued. We had this conversation on our chit chat on Wednesday morning, and some people came up with the argument of saying it doesn't matter, that we need you to be screened specifically for some roles. If you're just, the screening is to make sure that you are just worthy to be on the cabinet. It doesn't really matter which portfolio you hold.
I'm sorry to cut you short. Yesterday, and just to confirm how we started the program, that it looks like they're responding. So a lawmaker stood up yesterday to defend, because they saw the outcry, they felt the outcry. So he was trying to defend why they're saying bow and go, and he said something, and we just cringing. Like, he said, okay, so the reason why they're telling their former colleagues to bow and go is because, number one, they have been tested by them because they've been part of the Senate before. They've been part of lawmaking process. So they have their details, their accomplishments.
They know that they can function anywhere.
They can vouch for them. And then what they're doing right now is not really the real screening. They will still forward their papers, their CVs to the subcommittee levels, and this
could they be rejected at that subcommittee?
Will still go and face those subcommittee for proper grilling.
But they can't be rejected by the subcommittee. That's the issue.
I don't think the subcommittee has any power.
Well, what are they going to be doing? But let's head to the phone. The phone lines are buzzing right now. Let's give you the phone numbers. You can also reach us. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube at Nigeria Info FM. You can leave us your comment there. If you don't have our phone numbers, well, here they are.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
Nigeria Info, we're listening. Let's get to the phones. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
No, we're in the afternoon.
Wow. Apologies.
We've been here all morning, so good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, this is calling from Ijabode.
Welcome, Easy.
Yes, I think the screen or no screen, they are not our problem. The woman are excluded somehow, sir.
Okay.
It's not somehow. 43 minus 7. That's not.
The little we have there. Let them prove that the man are guilty.
Guilty of what?
Of not performing.
Why must it be a guilt trip? Why don't you just get people? Should they spend 4 years trying to prove that the men are guilty?
They have been failing us now. So we have been complaining and they didn't hear us. Maybe because they are our mothers now.
Okay.
And they carry us for 9 months and give back to us. Then we know what we are lacking.
We are back to
and
this
they know how
party.
to feel it to make an impact.
So we want them to
life.
be ministers because they are mothers. Well, thank you, Eze. Godwin is here from Yaba. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, please. Your line is very low, Godwin. Can you speak louder?
Hope you can hear me now.
Okay,
Yeah, go on,
ahead.
Godwin. Go on.
All right. I want to know how many hours these our legislators have passed today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they started at 11.
They started around
Yeah.
They started around 11.
They've been starting
And
at
they-
11.
And they now took a break. They took a break now till 4. Can you imagine? And after this sitting, there's a provision for them for today's sitting. So I can't imagine what actually are they doing?
They need to go have lunch.
And for
How
Jumat.
many hours?
And today is also Friday. Many of them would go to the mosque to pray.
No, you cannot defend them to that extent.
Well, that's that. Oh my goodness!
They said, "You see your defense."
He just shattered my defense. Emmanuel is here from VI. Good afternoon, Emmanuel.
Good afternoon, Wemimo.
Hi.
Yes.
Emmanuel, please put off your radio quickly. You know the rules.
Okay.
Thank
I've
you.
done that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to contribute to what you guys are discussing. This whole screening they are doing is just a charade as far as I'm concerned. It's a child's play. The Buhari will, like we will also this night assembly is something that there will be yes sir, whatever the president that comes in from the executive arm of government, they will just be nodding to it. Even the question that they keep asking them are not thorough enough.
Okay.
And they just want us to just know that they've been doing this thing. And at the end of 4 years, we are still going to see an economy that is not working, and infrastructure that has been dilapidated, and all sorts of something. I don't know when we have to get to a stage where we have to be getting the right people at the right position so that Nigerians can work again. Now, all this thing that they are doing is just a child's play.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. We have someone else on the line there.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon.
This will take some getting used to. Good afternoon. Okay, we can't hear you. Can you try any of the other lines?
Hello. Good afternoon. Okay. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Regbeshola.
This is who?
Mr. Regbeshola.
Welcome.
Oh. Okay, I was going to tease you, but let me just leave it.
No. I have not so much to say.
I was going to congratulate you for making it to the list. But let me leave off the teasing. You're welcome.
Yes, actually, what I want to say is that, according to what the Constitution says, Constitution says, say confirm. So, the confirmation something. Feel all the righteousness. So, it's by their own liberty to do, or their own question, to say, okay, ask a question or no asking question.
But then how do you confirm that they are, good for the role? It's to confirm that they are good for the job. How do you confirm if you don't ask questions?
The confirmation, let me give you a good example, a case of this guy that it was refused to pass by the Senate, what's the EFCC, acting chairman. So there has to be a letter from DSS top in. So there will have been a security check and other things that have been done by the federal government that have been sent to them. So if you are asking questions and answering questions for something that somebody is going to perform, I see a lot of people who have answered questions fluently, correctly, and Bola Ige is a good example. He was the Minister of Power. At the end of the day, they have to change him.
Okay.
So that's just.
All right then. Thank you, Mr. Agweshala, for calling. Hello,
Okoyemi is on the line. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I actually want to appreciate what you people are doing over there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please, the there was a question that was asked one of these senators. I think they want for justice or something like that.
Okay.
But I wouldn't know if he actually answered the question because it's something that has to do with the people that were detained. That what is he doing about it?
Yes.
So during that period, I think
That's
we didn't know
Abubakar Malami.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We talked about it.
We talked about it.
Yeah, he dodged, or the person asking the question did not land on the question, went off somewhere else. So, I mean, the man just left off that question.
Yeah, so he answered what he felt
was cool.
Yeah.
Adetoro is calling us from Ogun State. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Welcome.
Wemimo Cherry fan, of course, Tunji. I really want to commend you guys. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
This morning helping you now. All right, quickly, my contribution is simple. I disagree with you guys, on different issues. One, concerning the number of females on that list.
Okay.
See, is it about gender now or about competency?
Both. It's about both.
Well, let me land.
Yes,
I'm not
please.
saying there are no competent ladies, women out there, but I'm saying the president needs the heads he can work with. That's the number of females. If he decides to have 40 females and then maybe like three males, if that's the set of people he can work with, let him go ahead and do that. It shouldn't be about we having to come up with gender. Now, if he decides now, okay, let all my this thing come from north, or we'll start seeing it's been tribalistic and all of that. So we should leave all the sentiments aside and let's face reality. Let him get those who can get the job done and let them do the job. These are the set of people he can trust. Trust is very key in leadership. And I don't have issues with the president.
Sorry, sir. Before you go, can you vouch for the people that he has put forward as competent?
The truth of the matter is, as it stands right now, that is the set of people he believes he can work with.
No. You spoke about competence.
Well, you said competence is important.
Yes.
So and while they are speaking, we run you through their profiles. And you must have done your research. Yeah. So you tick off the competence box for these people.
Okay. Can you tell me any one of them who you think is not good enough?
No.
That's not how to answer a question.
but it's okay, Adetoro.
But I get your point.
Adetoro, it's okay.
Your opinion is yours, and you're allowed to have it. Abdullah is calling us from Ikoyi.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, please, I want to confirm before I continue. Okay. Is it obviously that is not getting the marks properly? Or well, who is not getting the marks?
No, there was another
nominee
that Ramatu Tijani. We played you her voice. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know that it is not even all of them that performed well while they were on one seat or the other? And let's take all those women. Let's take them as let's stop compensating ourselves with our country or with our nation. Whereby our politicians compensate themselves with at the expense of our life or at the expense of the growth of the country. I see when all those guys, when the Senate president yesterday said, because you are a lady or because you are a woman or because you are an ex, you are a senator, just take a bow and go. What gives us the extent of their strength? What is their capacity? How can we know their capacity? Look at Amechi for example. Amechi keeps giving us one project, Lagos to Ibadan, Lagos to
in case you people don't get the point.
Is that the only place where I will keep digging? Look at the Minister for Aviation. Where has it kept the 47 billion naira? Where has it kept it?
Good question. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. One important thing, Tunji, a good point he has raised, and we hear reports today. Yesterday, it seemed that the senators gave softer landing to the women. I mean, they were easier on the women. I don't appreciate that either.
I don't either. At the end of the day, there needs to be and we have competent women.
We do. That's the point.
More than enough. As a matter of fact, there is a lot around. So even right now, we have a woman heading the I think the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, even the Sadiku. In financial circles, she is, one of the
Boss.
top 5. She clearly hits it. So, and there are many women like that across board. So it's not
And
even
men
as
too,
if
yeah.
it's not even as if this administration doesn't know that there are qualified women around, because it has them within. So it's not about they can't find.
Yeah,
They
someone just
chose
said it's
not
about
to.
compensation. But let's
You know?
speak with Francis. He's been on the line for a while, calling us from Bagada. Francis. Oh, Francis.
That's right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, please speak
Okay, good
louder.
afternoon.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. I think the whole thing is like crap. I tell you the truth. You are applying for a job, and your interviewers are asking you your resume. This is my resume,
Yeah.
and you have a position they want you to occupy.
That's right.
In this case, all the ministers, they don't know what they want to do, what they are going to do.
No, they don't.
No portfolio, nothing. On what basis are you interviewing them? On what basis are you screening them? On what basis? Because honestly, I don't. Except for the guy that was being interviewed. That is from Dare from Osho State.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, that guy can fit into information, into infotech, name it. Into he can be Minister of Information. He can be Minister of Information and Technology. Aside that, and the other guy, Dr. Oga, honestly speaking, that you can say this guy can fit into petroleum industry.
Yeah,
I do
Uchechuku.
not know what others like Ngige. Ngige is a medical doctor. We saw how he performed.
How about holding the Ministry of Health?
Somebody that left his stethoscope almost 30 years ago.
Well,
what can he contribute to the Ministry of Health?
Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate
That's
your call.
harsh.
Yeah, I mean, that's his opinion. Well, let's head over to Facebook and read some of your comments there. Oops. Okay, I'll get that up in a bit. We have a comment here from Engineer Joe Frank, who says there is no point setting this ministerial list to the Senate. This is a show of shame. Says, does it mean we do not have qualified people in this country to be ministers? Said Malami was just speaking out of context. Oluwole Daniel says, no more bowing. Let them give them real screening. But I'm not sure we had that today.
Any Talk Badibo says, my question to our lawmakers is this way they screen employees who work in their various private companies? I pray Nigeria get better before the coming of Jesus Christ.
Ade is on the line from Lagos Island. Ade, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How do you do?
How do you do?
Let me join others to commend you for doing very, very great and marvelous work.
Thank you.
Well, like somebody earlier said, I think the confirmation is just to confirm their backgrounds that have initially been, looked into, maybe by various security agencies, 1. 2, to also confirm all they have in their resume. That's the major thing. And I think competency is not about your eloquence or your oratory or your ability to be impressive. You can be so impressive, full of a lot of big words, and when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, you may not be able to perform. We have seen Awolowo, who performed so well in the office of finance minister, Aminu Kano, health, and so many others. So sometimes I think they only want to know their general knowledge or general view about things. However, that does not stop them, the legislature, the Senate, from going further to probing other areas. And if they choose not to, there's no big deal, there's no headache. Nigeria is marching forward. It's certainly going to be better. I'm not sure those who have been nominated are not competent. I'm not too sure. And I'm not too sure those who with desire to be nominated can do better.
But that's the thing. Shouldn't we be sure through this screening? Why are we living?
What gives you the assurance? What gives you the assurance?
That's the point
the
of
quality
having
of the question that they get to be.
No. Yes, I agree with you. The quality of the question. In fact, I think Sandra yesterday was asking his guests to just ask 2 questions he would have asked them. The man, even in the studio, I think around 4 or 5, couldn't bring 2 quality questions. I was listening to him while I was preparing my own question. He couldn't come up. It's not.
You are preparing your own questions.
Yes, I drew up my own question.
I can draw my own questions if you want to.
I drew up my own question, and I think they are intelligent enough. But even the man in the studio, in fact, Sandra was telling him, I want you to give me specific questions. He couldn't. So sometimes when we sit on the other side of the
because
divide,
he did not take his time to plan the
you
question.
don't need to take your. I didn't take my time as well. As
Sorry,
he was
you want
asking,
to
I
ask
was
me the
throwing my own.
questions?
Okay, Tunji wants his
I was throwing my own. Even those of you in the studio, now, if you ask, you say ask specific questions.
I'm asking
it's not
now.
as easy.
Can I ask
you
my
said
own?
what? You said what?
Ade, have you been listening to the
I have
questions?
been asking my questions too. I asked Mr. Heidi Sariki about the issue of Air Nigeria,
That's
where
right.
the 47 billion approved by the FEC is.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Of course, he needs to give us a further breakdown what he did with it. There's nothing wrong in that.
Somehow
That's a beautiful question.
I feel Ade should have been on that ministerial list. I mean, he speaks so eloquently. Thank you so much
I
for
did a great
calling.
job. Only I want us to have an open mind. With
Yeah.
do you know the media also is what they want us to hear? We will hear. That's the media for you. Is what you want us to hear. You present to us. That's the truth.
Well, that's what you think. Thank you so much. We have comments from Facebook.
That's right, and this is quite interesting. This person says, he mentioned this person, Tolu Shokumbi, says, Tunji and Sheriff, I beg to differ on your opinions about
and that's
getting
the name
involved.
of one of our programs, by the way. I beg to differ.
Involved
free
in
to
Nigerian
differ.
politics. Engaging in politics does not necessarily imply becoming a leader like governor, president, or even a local government chairman. Please educate the listeners properly, because this is part of our problems. All of us, must be engaged in Nigerian politics by either joining political parties, forming pressure groups, and so on. Which
I like the second part.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's anything to
and we didn't say that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're differing on your point.
I said I just realized that involving myself within politics itself, as in running for office or supporting somebody to run for office, is just not my.
Because I remember we said the brand of politics,
the structure we currently
that we
run.
play.
You just have to have a certain trait, either have a thick skin to it or be able to roll with it.
Someone said something yesterday, Tunji, that if you join, I can't remember, I think it was Achike that said it, that if you want to join Nigerian politics, it's either you join them or you leave, or something like that.
If you can't beat them, you join them, or you just take a walk.
Or
Let's speak with Gabriel. He's been on the line for quite a while from Surulere. Gabriel, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good to have you here.
Okay, all right. I've been listening to you guys since morning.
Thank you.
It's been quite interesting.
Thank you.
I haven't gone through all that has been said. I want to liken the situation on the ground as,
Hello?
Oh no.
Oh, sorry about that. We can't hear you. Hello?
Back.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
All
back.
right, please go ahead.
All right. You know this move to Canada through the express entry system. One of the prerequisites is that you must have an IELTS exam, and then after confirmation of your certificates and all that. So the problem is, can you speak English to cope in the system? When you come in, you probably get to fit into wherever you can fit in. So I think that's what's also happening at the Senate and the nominee space.
Just to see if they are, coherent to address issues.
That's that.
Right. Thank you so much for calling.
Thanks
but
for
we
calling.
must go now. Thank you all for joining this live ministerial coverage. The Senate is on break to recoup at 4 p.m. And of course, by that time, Sandra Anahogo will be here to take you on. The live coverage stream continues here on Facebook and YouTube also. You can also leave us your comment on Twitter. We're at Nigeria Info FM. Toji Andrews, thank you very much for being here all day.
Yeah, but before we go, I just need to say this, because I think people are getting misunderstanding the reason why this screening is also public. Is because those people represent every single one of us here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the reason why they need to come and speak is because we need to know what they can do. And
What they're
since all of
offering
us
us.
cannot sit down in that room in front of them, we have representatives there to speak on our behalf.
That's
So
right.
they are speaking to us, not just those people in those in that
We
room.
expect them to ask the questions
Exactly,
we would
that
have
we would have loved to ask. So
them.
really, the City of Lagos, it is our representatives speaking for us in that floor. So we need to listen and hear hear what they can offer us going forward.
That's it, Nigeria. We are leaving you this weekend. We'll be back on Monday. The screening would not end today, certainly. It would continue on Monday. That means we'll have extended coverage also on Monday. But for now, Colin Stecker is here with his crew to take you on the entertainment drive from now up till 3 when Sandra will be in. Collins, have you been following the screening? Are you impressed?
Well, impressed. That's quite a heavy word. I mean, it's not something you just you have to earn it. You know?
Yeah.
For me, for someone to impress me, you have to do a lot. So a lot of things are unimpressive about the country. So this is also one of them. Even though it's going. But what is most impressive is the fact that we are bringing this to the fore. We're covering this the proceedings because before now we would not look at things like that as important. But
it's just one of those things.
Absolutely, with the conversations you've had and all the engagements from different areas, you know, talking about the state of the economy, talking about what all the ministerial nominees have been saying, analyzing all what is happening. From there, I mean, the people can have an idea of what exactly to expect. Because
for the next
is,
4 years.
The truth is, when you elect new leaders, and the next thing is expectations. That's why you have the marks of first 100 days, what would you achieve and all that. So it would be nice to at least have an idea. That way, it would not only impact the nation as a whole, to impact individuals on how to plan their lives. Because you can see from these proceedings, and you just project, man, the way it's going, it seems it's going to be business as usual.
Yeah.
So let me just start preparing myself for
packing my bags, go to Canada.
but you know, so that's what's most important about the coverage, really, because there's nothing really different. I mean, look at the list of the. If I'm going to talk about the list of the nominees, trust me, if I was going to make a list, I wouldn't have any of them on that list. So that first of all puts me off. If you want to talk about whether or not the proceedings, you know, the way they're going, if I'm impressed or not.
You don't even like the names on the list.
It's not why I don't like the names. You know, they're beautiful names. Names matter. If only names could actually, you know, reflect in the way people get to do things. You know, but leave the names. I'm talking about. Okay, let me put it this way. I believe that anyone who is not going to be here in the next 50 years, it's not I wish anyone to die or anything, should not be in the decision-making process at all. Let me say, should not be making decisions for those. So a bottom line, I feel that youth should
have more youth participation.
Absolutely. So that should be the conversation, really. Because if I have someone who's been there, I look at the profile of some of the ministerial nominees.
That's right.
Well, there's not really, they have the pedigree, but the question is, if you were making decisions in 1982,
you see,
you shouldn't be here.
I always say this: most of the guys that are on that list that have been in government forever, they started quite young, in their 30s, some in their 29s. Amici became a speaker when he was 30 or 31. I can't remember, but he was in his 30s. How many can we say right now in our polity that are in their 30s?
Well,
Abubakar Malami was the youngest the last time, but now I think the youngest was right now is Uchechiku Oga, who's about 47 or thereabout. But Nigel, let's leave you now in the hands of Colin Stecker and the crew. Lunchtime magazine here for you, and in the afternoon when they reconvene, we'll be back with the live coverage of the ministerial screening with Sandra and Hago. We'll see you on Monday. Big thanks to Onyechi Ekumakuma for assisting, Zainab Yakin.
Destroyed her
Zainab Yakin. Ekumakama. And also Yvonne Okaifor and Tosin Akinride. Big thanks to Sheriff Lawal and everyone who has been
who's going to say big
crew.
Thanks to you guys? I think I should do that. I mean, you've been doing a great job. I mean, fantastic. I'm not very happy about the fact that for anything for Nigeria, we do. Let's leave that.
Yeah.
But you've been doing a great job.
Thank you. Babatoke Salami made it happen. That's why you can watch us on social media. Thank you, guys. We'll see you again on Monday. But stay here. We got you covered all the way. I'm Wemimo Adewini.
And I'm Sheriff Quadri.